Say it again?
Just Diane?
Diane and Caitlin moved out of the village, so she won't be
She
here.
did what?
She just got here.
Just got.
I think she lived too close to John. No, it was some personal reason. She still owns her house, but she's now living in South Burlington.
That doesn't mean.
She could've just-
She doesn't have.
Andy
she
hasn't
doesn't
moved
have-
out yet, and we're.
No, she's living in South Burlington. She just owns property here.
No, it's kind of. Wow. She was barely here long enough.
All right, are we ready?
Steve, you're next.
Good.
She nodded it too.
All right.
That's
I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Village of Essex Junction Planning Commission for March 21st, 2019. Excuse me, on the agenda tonight, we have some comprehensive plan updates. We have a public hearing on an application. Before I continue, if everybody that's going to participate tonight, make sure you sign in. Robin, do we have any additions or amendments to the agenda for tonight?
No, just the fact that Caitlin is now living in South Burlington.
Okay.
No big charter code.
So we have a vacancy, from what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes. Looking for willing participants in the planning commission.
Or unwilling.
Yeah.
Or unwilling. Exactly. Exactly. Is there, before we continue with the agenda, is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk about anything that is not on the agenda? Seems we're a little light tonight.
Real quickly, if I could,
Yes.
Dustin Russo from the Town Planning Commission. I just wanted to verbally extend the invitation to the Village Planning Commission to visit us at any point in time, any meeting. We have gotten the agreement from our ruling bodies to encourage collaboration amongst our two commissions. Nothing is written and nothing is prescribed. I think what I'd like to float in front of you folks is to maybe see if we can come up with a night that we can meet someplace. Maybe have a little pizza or something along those lines, and then sort of talk about how we can collaborate. What works from your perspective, what works from our perspective, where can we become more supportive of each other. I'm not trying to change any directions, any rules or anything like that, but I think we all live right close to each other, and much of our initiatives are really very much in line with everything. So it would be nice if we can come together occasionally on a maybe a more regular basis, so that we can talk about things, like the energy discussion that we've talked about a few times. So I would encourage you guys to chat about it a little bit and see if have Dave reach out to me, and let's find a time that we can. I think the term that the trustees used was retreat. I don't particularly think we need to retreat. I'd just as soon go forward. And let's see if we can find things that we can collaborate with that doesn't impact our regulatory roles. So that's my pitch.
Excellent, thank you. Very cool, yes, we will definitely work on that. Anybody else with anything not on the agenda? Okay. All right, first up, we have I'm sorry, we did the minutes. The minutes from the regular meeting, actually, is this correct? It says February 21st on the agenda for tonight, but it's actually, the minutes say January 17th. Did you guys get the same thing?
They say January 7th.
Now, I think I did ask Carrie to send them, I thought she did send them, but.
Well, what am I looking at here? Am I looking at the 21st or am I looking at the 17th?
See.
I have the 17th.
Yeah, the 17th was definitely in our packet.
So we don't have the minutes from the 21st. I was not present.
I
at the
have
time.
them, but I don't know that everybody has them. I asked it for them because I thought that maybe my packet was just missing them, and said, can you resend them? And Carrie did resend them to me.
Okay, so
But I
if
guess we can just table it. if
we can
nobody
just
else
take,
has.
we'll table that until the next meetings if nobody has the correct minutes. Okay, all right. Okay. Next up, we have the comprehensive plan update on land use, transportation, and energy. Melanie?
Yes, hi,
You're on.
everybody. Thank
Hello.
you for having me back. There's a little bit of a change in what we are discussing tonight. The way the update of the comprehensive plan is coming out to be is more of iterative updates of the entire plan with focuses in certain areas. So we're not gonna get a chance to talk about energy tonight. Most of the focus is gonna be on the running list of contents or comments that were sent to you prior to this meeting, updates that were made to transportation and housing. And so then, before we go into the meat of the updated content, just need to go over some housekeeping items with you guys all, just to make sure that we're on process and meeting our schedule and covering and reviewing all the material that we need to get the plan approved in August. So at our last meeting, we talked about kind of doing this update in 3 meetings, this being our second meeting, and it's becoming clear to me that I think we need another meeting between now and April 18th, when the Planning Commission considers warning this for a public hearing on May 23rd. So what I'm proposing is we meet again in 2 weeks on April 4th. And the content of that meeting will focus on energy. I have some more updates that I need to make to the energy plan. It will focus on updates to land use, and then just overall updates to the entire plan. Robin and I are meeting on Monday to go page by page painstakingly and get everything updated and current with Essex Junction's progress since the last plan. And so at that, so I guess I just want to get feedback from you about whether you agree on having another meeting on April 4th.
Definitely,
I
yes.
think we were planning
Yeah.
on it anyways.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's great. And then, the idea is that, the plan will be pretty well set by, when you receive it on April 11th, in anticipation of the April 18th date, considering it for public hearing. And as I said, May 23rd is when the public hearing is. One other thing I wanted to talk with you guys about is the formatting of the current plan is extremely problematic, as you've seen. So it's been very difficult to work with, and editing it makes it worse. So I've provided a sample of what the new plan could look like. It's just 20 pages of the first part of the plan. I'm gonna send it around for you guys to take a look at it. The picture on the cover will change. The thinking is to take a picture looking west on Route 15 to get the streetscape of the Five Corners building and the village office building as well. So you guys take a look at this. The next version of your plan will be in this format. So it'll be a lot cleaner, a lot easier to work with. The table of contents will work. So it'll make it easier for you guys to read as well. So I'm gonna
John-
pass that around.
John's an excellent photographer, and he probably has stuff you can.
I already took it, last summer.
He just did it right now on his phone.
I hope it's a sunny day. I know those are hard to come
It's one
by.
of those pictures where you take it and you realize, oh my god, it's a postcard.
Okay, yes, certainly. I mean, if you have a picture that you want to put on the cover, that's great. Otherwise, we have a communications manager in our office. She was going to take a picture. She lives here, so. But if you have a picture, even better.
I'll submit it for consideration of like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you darken down?
Robin's face.
Okay, so just some more process stuff. So I I'm glad that you guys agreed to have another meeting on April 4th to talk about this. So this is the plan schedule, and this builds in that April 4th meeting. All the items in yellow are when the planning commission meets and discusses the comprehensive plan. Some things along the way to gather feedback from the public are April 18th, when the plan is warned, we are going to launch a civic comment tool app that will be accessible on your website, where the public can come to the website and offer comments on the plan. Then we've had some conversation about using Google Docs or setting up a drive for all the materials, or setting up having a PDF where everybody comments. I know that this process will really benefit from that. At this point, the way the plan is in its current state, if we bring it into Google Docs, it's going to make the formatting even worse. So Amber we had an email conversation about that, and so my hope is that we can get to a place where the comments among the planning commission can be shared back and forth. My thinking is that with this new plan format, if I bring it into Google Docs, we can achieve that. I just need to test it out. And then, as Dustin, the chair of the town planning commission, indicated, the town is meeting to talk about energy on May 9th. Is that correct? I think it's May 9th. And so those comments that those changes that the town planning commission may or may not make about the energy plan, I would like to include in this process, so those could be brought forth as comments at the May 23rd hearing. So something to think about. Consider putting that meeting on your calendar. Those changes, may or may not influence what's in the energy plan. And then also the planning commission comments. The planning commission, is able to submit comments between the April 18th and the 23rd, and May 23rd. And so, after May 23rd, when all the comments are set and the document is set and we have a final draft to send to the trustees, there's a very short amount of time between May 23rd and June 6th. It's basically a weekend it's over Memorial Day weekend. So my job is to get everything in the plan and set for it to be forwarded to the trustees on June 6th. So the sooner that we can get all the comments in before that May 23rd date, the better. So just wanted to update everybody on the schedule. Any questions about the schedule before we move into the content of the plan? Okay.
Sounds good.
Does everybody have the comment document?
I think we do. I had Terry print them out for me.
Okay.
So.
I'm gonna use her version. Mine is too small. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is an iterative process of updating the plan. Tonight's discussion is gonna focus on updates to the housing section that were made based on the draft Essex Town and Essex Junction housing assessment. They're going through a process now with the Vermont Housing Finance Agency's data. The staff in the town shared that assessment with me, and so I summarized the most salient points and included them in the housing section. The housing assessment included information about the housing stock and affordability at the town, at the village, and at the county level. And the housing chapter itself references that plan as a draft. And then the other content piece that we'll focus on is the comments that we received from Du Bois and King on the Five Corners design, so updating the town plan to reflect that that is no longer a concept, that it's a design, so those comments, were incorporated into the, value section and in the transportation section. I also worked with CCRPC staff, specifically the transportation staff, on updating the, transit section to reflect, Green Mountain Transit's next generation plan, and some changes in rail and high crash location, so I'm just summarizing here before we go into the weeds of the plan. So I've created this running comment list of changes that I've made since you last saw the document. It's a little bit unwieldy, but I think it's the best that we can do so that you guys can see what changes are made and how they're applied to the plan itself. And I indicated who made the comment. And so the first item that we can discuss is the proposed plan changes suggested by Du Bois and King to include the Five Corners design project. The changes to the plan are throughout. They're in chapter 2, they're in section 3, mostly also in the transportation section, section 8, and then in the implementation section. So, does anybody have any comments or questions related to those changes?
So Melanie, did you make all of the changes that basically that Du Bois suggested,
Yes.
including the objectives and all that
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
I made them all, yeah.
Okay. So, I did make a comment at the trustees meeting that Caitlin and Diane and I attended when Du Bois and King presented this. I do feel that the objective language is too strong, because the language is implement the design Five Corners project. That's all it says, implement. We did ask Du Bois and King what their thoughts were. It seemed like they wanted to make the language stronger for funding purposes. But when I asked him, said if we left the language as is, would we still basically be okay for funding? And I think the answer was yes.
What did the trustees say? Because it's kind of their project
Yeah.
and their vision, and they're pushing it, and if they're pushing it, then we should be implementing it somehow.
From my memory, they approved it as was.
So the trustees' intent is that the village move towards implementation of the Five
I
Corners.
don't think that's correct. I think they approved the actual presentation and stuff, but I don't think they're saying we're closing Main Street and
Well,
approving
they
of
approved
that.
the presentation to go into the municipal plan. They approved the report, we checked the minutes, but they
I was
approved it
checking that.
to go into the municipal plan.
'Cause that's
Dan, Kieran, was a
kind
bit
of a-
iffy, but in the end said yes.
That's kind of a big thing, if
Yeah.
they're saying, we expect that this is what we are doing, and the comprehensive plan then says we're headed down that road, then all of our decisions and work should be,
I think there was definitely
To get
a
us there.
discussion that we need to build the Crescent Connector, see how that connects and then, so I don't know why we have to be so blunt about implementing it. Why can't we leave the language that we had? We had already talked about consider pedestrianization of Main Street. Why is that not sufficient enough?
So we should get clarification on
Just check
what they mean.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. It sounds like it's a clarification.
and the implementation may take years to phase your way in. but-
5 or 10.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm not, I think we really wanna clarify that, because that's a big difference in direction maybe, or at least speed of implementation.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what they really mean, and that's where we're all headed, then we need to, kinda support something.
Yeah.
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 Whichever way it goes, we need to.
Right.
We should be behind supporting it. I mean, we've how long has the sort of general concept and plan been out there with the Crescent
Not
Connector?
8 or 9 years.
5 years?
No, 8 or 9 when I first came out.
Yeah, it's not a new idea. If we're really serious about it, then we should be aiming at it and.
Correct.
I
Yep.
think, it's not that I don't support it, I think that I wanna have more information, again, go back to,
Yeah.
the Crescent Connector is still not built, and we
So that would
don't
be
know how
step
that,
one.
step one.
Step
Right.
2 is try closing it off for a
Exactly.
day, a couple hours,
Right.
a weekend,
Exactly.
a week,
Exactly.
whatever like that. Yeah.
Takes people about 2 months to get used to your route.
Yeah,
And then we have all kinds of feedback so we can continue to
yeah.
think
Right.
about it.
Implement to me is just, it's just too strong
It's
of a
like,
word.
do it.
It's too strong. And I think, back to, we've been having the conversation, so that's why we put, consider pedestrianization. I don't think that's an inaccurate statement. That is still the plan, is to consider pedestrianization. So,
Okay. Again, we'll get clarification on that.
I mean,
Yeah.
it should be out by now.
Hmm?
I mean, it should be out by now. Maybe.
they should, yeah. Think.
You should go.
Adam. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I remember is asking specifically, I've been through this process, I know at the end of the day, it's not really our decision. They will change it, even if you put in, consider, and they want it to be.
Well,
implemented.
we went through that with the building height thing, so
Exactly, exactly.
Yes, we did.
we know how that went.
Yep.
So, yeah, we'll get clarification on that. Are there any other questions on the comments? We good?
And Melanie, just, are you, is this gonna come back out in another draft with all the changes made and we can see them and we get to reread the whole thing again? Is that how that works?
Super excited.
Yeah, cause it sounds like specifically, related to this objective, tabling that conversation, getting some more information. So we'll have another conversation at the next meeting about whether this, statement remains or it's revised, so.
Well, I think you should leave it the way you have it, but I think we all get a chance to read it, and then if the decision to change it from implement to consider goes back and forth, I would still expect to read the whole revised section before we get back
Mhm.
together.
Okay, so I will not accept these changes for the next draft.
No, you should.
Okay.
If that's the only thing, is
Well-
it one word, is it?
You could put consider in front of implement.
So objective 4.2 has consider pedestrianization of Main Street, and then objective 4.3 is implement the five corners project.
Right,
So
so,
we're only discussing one line at this point.
but
Those are two,
Well,
the big deal, so.
consider-
but yes,
Right.
4.3 is the addition.
Implement is a big word, and she's right, and the reason for that is because it changes everything that we do in terms of consideration when we're looking at projects and applications, because that means essentially they're telling us that we need to make this happen
Mhm.
in the village center. That's what that word means.
I can
So-
tell you that everyone's come in the last 3 years. It's been told by me that Main Street may close, and they should make sure their design would work with any changes. Which is only fair.
And it also can potentially cause confusion if one section says consider and then in the other section says implement.
Right, yeah.
So we should
don't need
definitely have,
both.
clar-
I
we don't
think
need both, it should be one way or the other.
Yeah,
Right.
The one's old and one's new, right?
right.
Correct.
Right. So I don't think there's any objections to the other, the description of the actual study and I'm not gonna speak for anybody else, but I don't necessarily have a problem putting that in. I think that needs to be included.
No, I think you make a good point, because we've come across, situations in the code, in the LDC as well, where you could read it either way, because it's ambiguous, so
Yeah.
let's try to nail it down a little more.
Yeah, so I don't think, I think if you're talking about red line changes, you don't wanna accept anything, because we wanna see what the changes were. Right? Because if we get the doc back, we're gonna have to reread the whole thing.
Yep.
But,
That's what John wants to do.
well, you know,
We can turn the, but if
Alright,
you're
hold
getting,
on, now, look,
we
now
can
look, there
turn
are
off.
50 comments on here already, and we're only halfway through.
No.
So somehow, if all of this stuff gets dealt with some way, we gotta read the whole thing. You got it.
well,
Yeah.
if the minutes are available tomorrow, I will cut and paste the appropriate section and present it to everybody.
Okay, that sounds good. That'll work for a starting
I
point.
think Melanie's still looking for direction.
Well, I mean, just because we're on the topic of whether we should accept the changes or not, so it sounds like
So we're
we
talking,
should
sorry to
keep-
interrupt you, but
Oh,
we're talking
yeah.
about accepting these now, tonight.
yes.
Okay. So if we have to accept anything, I would say that it should be the original way. That's my interpretation, not to say something has to be done, but I like the original language better. And I think Amber has a good point.
Yeah,
What do
I
you
mean,
guys think?
or we can, or you guys can consider accepting the description of the Design Five Corners project. But,
Without the word?
well, so there's the description on page 4, and then there's the objective, the policy directive, like that we can have a conversation about on April 4th after you guys go back and read the minutes.
Gotcha, okay. All right. So I like the five corners concept. I do, but
Yeah.
the wording,
I think
I
what,
agree.
I think what the consultant said was we have to have wording in place that would trigger a successful grant application, rather than wording that's a
Oh,
little
okay.
softer, it might say, well, you,
Gotcha.
if somebody else was gonna go do their stuff, you weren't that sure about it, so we'll get
I think can you send us the whole minutes, because, well, I mean, and I don't know that we're gonna catch that, but I did specifically ask that question.
I think you did, but I don't think we changed anything, but we'll get the minutes anyway.
but Melanie is still looking for direction on what we're gonna do.
Well, I think the direction is we're tabling the wording of objective 4.3, and we're accepting at this point the description of the Five Corners
Correct,
project.
yes.
So the next version of the plan, this won't be redlined. John, does that work for you?
Fine.
Or do you
I
want to
do.
keep seeing the running changes going forward?
I can't believe we're spending this much time on one question with 50 more to go, is what I can't believe. Let's leave it as you've got it changed, put it in purple or something that says, we're not sure about this one, we're still
Just
waiting
one
for the
sentence.
tape, and
Okay.
off you go.
Okay, got it. So, well, while we're on the topic of Five Corners, the other changes that were made from that project are in the transportation section, starting on page 70, chapter 8. Does anybody have any comments about that? Or should we accept the changes as proposed?
I sent everybody the B&K presentation, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm second guessing myself, I think.
Got it, I think it's here, but I don't.
I think from my perspective, the point then that the trustees approved putting the recommendations in the municipal plan, whether or not it has that word in it, they've. Right, thank you. Well,
We're gonna run into it again, because it says
It's
the same word right here.
I have no further comments.
Yeah, I'm good. Unless somebody else has other comments. I'm good with accepting these. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanna read the doc as an entirety once we're, and then
Yep.
reserve the right to
We're all
ask
set.
some additional questions.
Okay.
Comments.
So then, the other transportation-related changes, were concerning just clarifying, high crash locations at Five Corners. It's not a high crash location. The segments leading up to it are, the data has been updated. Additional changes in the transportation section were made, regarding the, GMT's next gen plan. Any questions about that?
No, it's pretty clear.
Okay, and then, there was, updates about rail. in here as well. Any questions, comments about that?
I can't remember, I did make some changes to the rail.
Yeah, and I believe that I put those in here. And there's a note in here about waiting, I put a note in here about waiting, for information from V-Trans on how Essex Junction, might be impacted by the rerouting of freight during, Middlebury's rail tunnel construction project. So I have an answer on that, but because, you know, it's subject to change, I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the comprehensive plan. But the answer is, because of the rail traffic in Middlebury being halted, trains will detour the existing rail traffic that come up the western corridor. And it will increase rail traffic, and it will be one additional round-trip train per day. And it'll last 10 to 12 weeks, being the maximum duration, and it will occur June 1st, 2020, so it's still,
Why is that in a comprehensive
Yeah,
plan?
whatever you need
No,
that.
we don't need to.
no, it's just a very
It's an
specific,
explanation.
result of construction that's happening in Middlebury. And so it's just,
I
So it's
don't-
good
I don't think
information,
it's
but
just
not
good
for the
information,
plan.
it's not
Okay.
for the plan,
Okay.
It's
right,
not, yeah.
yeah.
Are we saying everything possible to promote the
Montreal.
revitalization of our train station?
They were the changes I made.
Mm.
We put a picture in there,
Sure we can.
Yeah, pictures.
Proposed
I love
picture?
pictures.
shovel ready,
I believe somebody has a picture they could give us.
say mine.
John sending a picture?
Where is Jude?
Okay. Okay, so then the next version, the transportation section, all these changes will be accepted.
Correct.
Okay. Now we can, so I've highlighted on this comment spreadsheet the, comments that warrant some discussion. I've gotten comments from John that I incorporated, you know, if they were just sort of technical wordsmithing changes, I made them and reflected whether they were completed or not. But there are some, outstanding comments that I need some planning commission, discussion about. So that first one is about asset management and shared services. I believe it's section 7, page 6. So I was just wondering to, if I could get some more words and understand the concept of that a little bit better.
Well, my basic idea was that as we're, as Essex Junction and Essex Town continue to get closer together, how much is appropriate to put in our visioning statement that's gonna govern the next 5 or 8 years? And I'm not sure that, I don't know what the answer is, I think it's just, you know, we should recognize what we're doing and include at least a short statement about that as a direction or even a goal if that's appropriate. And I think the politicians may have to tell us how appropriate that is, and if they're willing to say something, then we're willing to put it in the comp plan, cause it's happening.
You might be able to take something out of like the, annual report or something. It's already been written,
Right?
hijack it.
It's actually a pretty good idea.
I know there's a lengthy, I haven't read the village one, but I know there was a pretty lengthy in the town, report about shared services, et cetera.
Right.
So, I don't have it with me, but,
I'm sure we can get that easily.
Yeah, I have a copy of it, so I'll take a look at it, to get a direction for that comment. And we'll
Okay.
review that next time. John, you had made a comment about the historical resources. That's
Um,
on page
8,
8,
yep.
section 1.1.
Yeah, in my, my comment is we've had this trouble with the LDC, which is that there are parts of the LDC which, get a little, they get pretty strong about how to preserve, existing historic resources. And at the same time, especially in the VC district, we have a, intentional densification underway, and those are not necessarily compatible, goals. In other words, in order to make way for some larger, denser buildings, sometimes things get taken out. And if your language is too strong on the historic side, then you actually can't do that, you know, or we may find ourselves faced with a situation where some building by virtue of its age or other significant factor, you know, essentially, we'd have to rule that it really should be incorporated into a project and not taken down so something else can go there. And I take our language seriously enough to, if we're saying we're gonna keep these older structures, sort of no matter what, then we have to understand that will have implications as projects come in front of us. And as long as we're all on the same page, absolutely no problem. If somebody thinks, hey, I'm just taking that thing down, you guys don't mind, do you? When we say, actually, you know, the language in our code says you can't do that. Or makes it too difficult, then we're not really helping ourselves. So as long as we're clear, I'm fine. You discuss it, I already know how I feel. Right? And you could have a project any day. I mean, we've seen them before, essentially when the hotel wanted to go where what used to be Ming's and is now Fodang, that came down, hotel went in. That was the decision we were faced with. So it happens,
And you approved it.
and we approved it. And if somebody really came along and say, hey, listen, your town comp plan says you're protecting your historic resources, and your LDC says you're protecting your historic resources, and we don't do that, then we're not following our.
Is there a way to, I guess, soften it a little bit so that it gives us a little bit of leniency regarding it? The ability.
I think when we did the LDC language, we were creative in expressing the vision and allowing the softness.
Yeah.
And I think Robin came up with some great language for that, and I would suggest that we go back to that and make sure we're in a similar tone
Yeah.
that allows, maybe especially in the village center where we're trying to build density.
Yeah.
I think one problem could be, you know, since the trustees reduced the potential for 6 stories to 4 stories, and the price of land in the Door Center District is going up, we could unintentionally be creating areas of blight where the land is too expensive. And I don't want to say it now, but there's a couple of buildings I know of that haven't been purchased because not much can be done on the site and what they're being asked for the properties.
Like you need the extra stories. to
You
make
need the
it-
extra stories to make it work, and otherwise, there are a couple buildings that are underutilized, maybe vacant, and it's because the price of the land is more than you can justify for the buildings there. I mean, I think certainly we can look and say, you know, this is an exceptional building and deserves protection. This is just a building that was there and it's 50 years old. Use road rescue, for example. That's opposite ends of the spectrum. But I'm sure there's buildings in between that are past productive use for many reasons, not least of which is nobody can afford to buy them and make them work.
Interesting.
What are you looking at in terms of thinking that it's too strong? Because all I see here is that they're saying that there are these historic buildings that are, you know, recognized for one reason or another. I don't see any, unless I'm missing it, anything that's saying, you know, hey, just old houses. These are old houses that are, you know, have some sort of significance. Is there, I guess, what do you object to specifically?
I think we're gonna see
Maybe just cautionary.
more information and language come through here that, is also affected. I was just reading something else, and I lost my spot here, but, every time we strengthen our historic resources sections, we undermine our ability to do things with them. And, just wanna make sure that everybody's looking at this stuff and has a common understanding.
I think also, you know, we should have an understanding that a new building can be of higher quality than the building it's proposing to replace. So there's
Yeah.
some opportunity there as well that often a lot of people don't think.
So the only section that I see is the same, I don't have the one that we were sent, but in the comp plan right now, it says as the village prepares for the future, these historic resources will be analyzed and prioritized to determine which structures should be preserved. So should,
Right.
so, but I hear what you're saying, John,
Yeah.
I think it's
I
a
agree
matter
with you,
of
yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Absolutely.
once we, again, one of those things, once we read through the whole entire thing again, to keep that as in the back of our minds.
Make a note to
Yeah.
definitely revisit that.
Yep,
I mean, if it's a building that says Amber Tebow was born here, maybe they keep that.
exactly,
Alright,
just saying.
That's a good point, that's a good point, John.
Exactly.
So am I understanding correctly, it sounds as though you're all in agreement with John's comment, and I can propose some language the next time that we meet, and I think it would fit better in the land use section, and can update the land use section so that it's consistent with, the appropriateness of historical resources in the village center district.
It's definitely the village center district.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, that makes more sense,
Okay.
okay.
I think it's just, you know, and I think, taking John's point, I think we just wanna make sure that we don't put anything in there that makes it difficult for us to take forward an opportunity that's beneficial for the village.
Right, okay, got it.
alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we just gonna keep going down the list here?
We're gonna keep going down the list and paying close attention to the yellow highlighted one. And some of them
Some
are,
things.
some of them are just not knowing whether certain things took place or not, so that's the next one, line 22. The tree management plan, John, you were questioning about whether it had been established.
I think that was approved by the trustees, I believe.
What did Nick send us?
That's not the tree management plan, that's something that he found and,
He sent us the green,
that was about green space.
yeah,
Yeah.
green infrastructure.
Okay.
which really brings us back to design fact, Gordon.
But there is a
I-
tree management plan and there's some other information that's been developed.
Yeah, the tree advisory committee do have a tree management plan that the trustees approved,
So we should incorporate
Okay.
that.
So,
if only by reference,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Something to talk about it, yeah.
Okay,
So we can add something in there about that.
Absolutely, I think we should.
Okay.
page 25. There's a lot of these comments that are just because the information in the text is so dated, like there's a lot of references to
Yeah.
things that are pretty old already.
Well, I think what Melanie and I are gonna do Monday is, we're gonna change, CC, TA to GMT, we're gonna change
That's been done.
it.
That's the easy stuff.
History to,
Yeah.
Essex, and catch a lot of other things that are just,
Yeah.
they were right then, but they've changed.
And the
Okay.
things that are no longer out there, like the farmer's market can.
Yep.
Just take them
and the
out.
Yep,
things that
that's
are
been
new
taken
can-
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melody's way ahead of us
Specifically,
again.
I didn't know what you meant by E cubed 3.
Isn't that the Accelerate Essex or?
Yeah, they moved.
Didn't they change their
Okay.
logo to E3 or something?
Yeah,
like
but
that?
Yeah, something like that.
They've moved.
So they're not even here anymore?
Aren't they on Main?
They may be on Main Street.
I think they're on Main.
Yeah, they are.
They're part of the Essex Hub
Yeah.
for women,
Okay,
and we should have the Essex Hub for women in
yeah,
there.
that's update.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you. So the next one on page 31. this is related to the design, five corners description, and how it's talked about in, the economic development section, so, does anybody have any feedback or comment on that, paragraph? It's the third paragraph on section, in 3.3. This is another, content that Du Bois and King proposed. Talking about the economic benefit of Design Five Corners.
Yeah, I think whether we use, or implement, or move forward with, this part is still
It's just, narrative.
germane.
Yep,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yep.
Okay.
Alright, which one are you on now?
Yeah, so,
I think that, the next one about
the,
the references and
Yeah.
the projects and stuff, I think, well, you're gonna work with Melanie.
we're
so I
gonna
think
get that in.
Yeah, we're gonna
that
do that
is-
Monday.
Yeah, and the IBM
What
master
line,
plan.
what line are you on?
Huh?
Line 25.
24 and 25 is something, I
And we
think,
just put on his glasses.
Those are
Uh,
updates.
26 is the same thing.
That's an update, okay.
27.
Line 27, I think, is more of what we just
Same.
talked about,
Yep.
yep,
related
Exactly.
to historic preservation in the village
Yeah.
center.
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
The Summit Street Natural Playground, maybe Robin and I will get to that and have a
Yeah,
discussion
it didn't
about
happen.
that.
Well, they got a couple logs up there.
Yeah, they did.
Also on,
They put
That was like 2 years ago.
on page
Yeah.
27, did I tell you that Fletcher Allen Healthcare needs to be updated to UVMMC?
Yes, you
Yeah.
did, and I've
Melanie's done that already.
I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was an easy one.
Yeah, it was easy.
Right, Melanie.
Network?
we did that one.
Health Network
Well, they have about 10 different
names.
entities. The network is the big picture and.
Yeah, well, Dusty wants that because he's part of the network.
Yeah, yeah.
He's part of the network.
They all get pictures.
So the playground, the bike path, interconnectivity goals.
Didn't we
Wait, so
talk
what's
about didn't we talk about a map for that? Like
For
an
what, like-
overlay?
Bike paths?
An overlay between sidewalks and bike paths and,
Well, we have a map in here, don't we?
but it's not what you had talked about, John, before. It's not an exact.
The interconnectivity map, there was a map somewhere, I printed
Was it
out
on
almost all the ones that we.
Yeah, that can, do you put in there what you've got, or do you put in there what you've got?
What you
and what you're
want,
hoping for?
right.
You put in what you're hoping for.
What you're
I
hoping
hope.
for
Right.
and what you
Yeah.
got. And I seem to remember you making a comment before that it wasn't, or it needed to be updated or something. It's probably
Well, there
something we should take a
definitely
look
has
at.
been work on the bike walk advisory committee.
Yeah, they
right?
have a
So-
whole thing
They have,
going.
yes, we
So
could,
there's
we
gonna
could,
be,
we could get that in by reference, just like
That's
they
definitely
said,
something.
the tree advisory committee.
Yeah, yep.
yeah,
Okay.
So,
We should try to include that.
well, we do, map 6 is non-motorized pathways. And I would say just make sure that this is consistent with whatever the latest.
Bike walk.
everything,
Yeah, yep.
yeah.
Okay.
We should probably send it to Raj and have him take a look at it.
Yeah.
He's chair of the bike walk committee.
Okay. Remind me not to make so many comments on this.
Yeah, right. I think we remind you that all the
Get
time.
paid per comment on that.
What's this about Steve?
Yeah.
Steve?
Now,
I
Steve,
think I only had it was around composting or something?
So,
And I just couldn't remember, maybe I dreamed this, was there something where we were gonna have required composting? We were saying that we want to have,
Well, CSWD has that.
there it is.
Yeah.
It's
There's a
coming
law.
anyway.
it's coming. So I think we just need to change that, because we were saying we should promote composting, but if you have to compost it, you don't really entertain to promote it.
Yeah,
well, and Terry had also sent me a marked up version of the plan from you, Steve.
Oh, yeah, and most of those were just like,
And so so I just want, I read through them, there wasn't anything in there that was related to policy.
right.
It was
No, that's-
mostly wordsmithing, and so I'm looking for direction from the planning commission to say yes or no, I should incorporate the comments as suggested by Steve.
I like this comment.
Sure.
And I think
Rising.
I had sent them to, Robin to send to you guys so that you could
You
take a
got
look
them,
at
right?
them. To make sure that everybody's in agreement
Yeah, and I
with
didn't,
them.
and I didn't change any meaning,
Oh.
though, it was all basically like,
I got the whole comprehensive plan with his name on it, is what I got.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes. Steve's
Yeah.
Or
plan.
it's- yeah, we're
Steve's
changing
plan,
it.
I got that too, yeah, that was
And Jason
that was a
Steve
big
Bill.
email.
And then, and did you also get the March 21st version as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, just
Yeah.
making sure.
Yeah,
A lot of trees are dying for
oh,
this.
I only did it once.
No, actually, I didn't print it, so that's why I'm feeling like.
it's okay, we can compost it.
Yes, that's great.
Amber, I have mine
Problem solved.
right here, I just forgot my computer. So
Sorry.
I help him anyway.
All right,
Can you
so,
stick it in here?
so we wanna include his comments or
Keep
no?
moving, yes.
Yes, okay,
Move.
yes, include the comments.
Okay, I can do that. One item that actually wasn't highlighted in yellow that we do need to talk about is, the discussion of primary ag soils.
Yeah, I asked somebody else at CCRPC, and I asked somebody at the state to get that changed, because there are no prime ag soils in the Village Center District.
Yeah, we
They
had that
changed their map.
discussion last time, so, looking on page 46, I proposed some language that talks about the appropriateness of prime ag soils in the village and, or, you know, built up urban character nature. And
We have postmodern soils.
Incidentally,
just wanted to get your feedback on that, whether you're in agreement or you want further changes.
I'm fine with
I
that.
just want prime ag off the map, and I
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
and my friend Irish Way contacted the state.
so
Yeah.
the suggestion behind the map is that if we need the food source, that we're gonna dig up 5 corners, the actual intersection.
I actually spoke
And
to,
replant it.
Right,
We're
because
gonna
it's
implement that.
prime
I
ag,
spoke to Tricia Coppolino,
That's awesome.
Okay,
DEC.
okay,
Just made comments, I'll have to get back here tomorrow, actually. So you heard that, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yep, we're good.
okay. So the page numbers that I put on here are not exactly the page numbers that I have in front of me. But everybody looked at the language, the ag soil language. I mean, it's essentially saying that the primary ag soils, identified on the map are not
Not here.
viable agricultural use because they're not connected and they're isolated.
And you're just gonna separate out Whitcomb and community gardens and that's fine.
Yeah, we
that's
can
fine.
identify those resources
Yeah.
on the map and take
Yeah.
off the primary ag soils.
Right,
Perfect,
Okay.
excellent.
yep,
And I, also, there's a note in there that talks about, like, Act 250 will, still, be reviewing primary ag soils in their review.
Well, that's difficult, because there is no Act 250 in the Village Center District if you meet the standards of
Right.
neighborhood area designation.
Right, right, okay.
Well, the entire village is, almost the entire village is shown as prime ag soil.
It has to change.
Yeah.
We'll have to change.
Thank you.
alright,
Moving on.
what else, Melanie?
I think, skipping to line 45, I think that's more of an update that Robin and I can deal with. Line 47, so Diane sent me, a marked up copy and she made a comment about, that the village is taking sidewalks away in some neighborhoods. And the comment was
Yeah,
related
they
to,
are.
What?
Yeah, because they came up with this brilliant scheme that says we're only, considering like tier 3 roads to need sidewalks on one side, and so as they deteriorate, first of all, we don't plow them in the wintertime, we only plow
Right,
one
right.
side of the street. The other half of that is if they deteriorate, we're gonna take them out. As I understand it, that's what's going on, so on, what's the one that comes down, by Essex High School there? Anyway, they took out one of the sidewalks, the residents said, no, we don't want it,
Essex Drive?
gone.
No.
No, the one right by the high school entrance.
Old,
I, some,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
anyway, it does happen, and I don't know that that improves our, overall
Connectivity.
walkability.
Right.
You know, yes, you can cross the street, go down the other side, but
Hmm.
it doesn't
That's
feel
interesting.
right to me, I don't know.
Right.
I don't
No,
care
no.
if you don't plow both sides of the street in the winter, cause you're
Yeah.
saving
Agreed.
power or something.
I think, you know, as Vermont goes, we're urban, we should have them on both sides of the street.
That's a, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what all that means to the vision plan here, but, as we promote walkability in pleasant neighborhoods, you know.
Hmm.
Well, is that something that, I mean, is talked about in the, I haven't,
No, I think that was just done, I guess through Public Works would be Dennis, Jones, I'm guessing.
I mean, there's two ways to look at it. I mean, there's a huge cost savings if you redo a street and you only put in one sidewalk, and the sidewalk is wider than the other one. You know that when they've
I'm not
replaced
saying it gets
sidewalks.
wider.
It's not
I'm just
wide,
trying
it's
to-
5-foot sidewalks.
Some of the
Wide.
sidewalks,
Wide
you know,
it is.
are in better condition than two sidewalks that are in bad condition that take longer to fix. You know, so I guess there's two sides to that.
There's no question that there's money savings to be had. The question is that what we want, or?
I think the municipal plan can say we want to improve connectivity and not get into specifics of what's happening.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I believe that's what
Mhm.
Yeah.
it says.
Right, good.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Okay,
Why-
so I think the remaining ones are update questions that Robin and I can deal with. So if we flip to the housing section, hopefully you had a chance to review the data updates in that section. As I mentioned earlier, they were summarized from the draft town and village housing assessment. I mean, the overall takeaway message is, you know, housing construction is shifting from single-family owner-occupied to renter, smaller units. The number of number of households are increasing, household size is decreasing. We need to be building, housing that's affordable to all types, so there's a discussion of CCRPC's, and Champlain Housing Trust's, campaign, Building Homes Together. You know, that's the policy initiative
Yeah.
on building
That's
number
great.
of units per year. The data talks about, affordability, half of renters not being able to afford, or 30% of their income is dedicated to housing. Similar to owner-occupied, it's about a third of owner-occupied households are paying more than 30% of their income, so hopefully you had a chance to review the section and just if you have any
Pretty
comments
nice
on it.
segue into our next,
Yep.
project here, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the projects that are coming forward have much smaller units. Because they can't rent, people are renting 3-bedroom units,
Yeah.
price of 2-bedroom units. So they're
Well,
smaller, quite a bit smaller.
I meant the one
The one.
tonight.
Oh, yeah, that too, yes.
Are you on the agenda too?
So, the only comments that I have are, a lot of that information is already in the Ecos plan and is part of the regional description of our
Mhm.
housing shortfall.
Yes.
I just wonder how we can, you know, effectively tie into that. I see we've got Ecos in here in a couple of places. They also had a statement about if we need, I don't know, the figure with the last conference I went to, it was like 3,000 housing units or something in the next short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's how many we need, and we're only building 800 a year, so, or 400 a year, so it's really short. But they had it broken down by, community as the F is how many housing units would Essex have to provide as their part of the goal. Is that, can we grab that kind of stuff in there and say, well, we're trying to,
So-
We can,
we understand the regional shortfall and we're doing what we can? I mean,
So we have data on how many units Essex Junction has built to date. I haven't seen anything come out of CCRPC or Building Homes Together saying that there's X number of units needed to be built in a specific
Yeah,
municipality.
there was a thing about 6 months ago
I
in
thought,
the inquiry that said that we had actually grown faster than any other community in Chittenden County in the last 2 years.
I thought,
There is information in here about household
Somebody came-
projections.
I think that's what you're
Said
referring to, because
if-
we had talked about that before. In
Maura, yeah,
didn't she say if you sort of apportioned everybody's, you know, in Chittenden County and you took them, their current population as a piece of the whole and you prorated how many housing units everybody would need to come up with in order to, there was some way they did that, you know, just for example,
I
I
see.
think should be building.
I'll contact Maura and see what she has for us.
specific about
Yeah.
Yeah.
what that was, what that looked like.
Okay, so then, just so that we're on the housing that has been
Oh.
built in the village through 2017 or 2018.
Right.
One more thing.
Yes?
Under housing goals, on my older version here, it's 7.6 housing goals, objective 1.5 on page 61.
Okay.
I'll just read it to you if you don't have yours right there. Consider zoning changes to preserve existing structures of historic village character along sections of major arterials and in historic neighborhoods. So if you do that, you could
Like-
restrict yourselves
Yeah.
even in the village center, because
Right.
you've got 5 major arterials.
That's what you were just talking, that's what you were just talking about in the village
Yeah,
center too.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Can you read that sentence again?
maybe.
It's very kind of-
Consider zoning changes to preserve existing structures of historic village character along sections of major arterials and in historic neighborhoods.
Do you want to stick in after consider appropriate? Because if it's not appropriate, it's gonna cause problems, you won't do it.
Who determines appropriateness?
Us.
I mean, it still does say consider. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not,
Consider zoning changes to
You know.
preserve existing structures, see, that's where
Yeah.
you're,
Consider.
when you strengthen your preservation, you're limiting your development.
Mhm.
And you can do a great job, but you can't make something denser than it is now, you know, without some significant,
right,
usually significant, you can add on behind things or around them, but it is unlikely to deliver the, density of a different kind of project.
Right.
Yeah, but most of the density is needed for people, vendors to invest their time coming into the village center.
Mhm.
Maybe you say in appropriate neighborhoods, consider.
Right. But
That
that
way-
appropriate in there, good, yes. That sounds good.
Because further down, outside the village center district.
Or on Pearl Street or something, yeah.
Then maybe that's, be fine, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Although there's less older houses up there, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be fine.
All right.
Absolutely. Good idea.
That's good.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I take an observation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to tie all that in, you have, at least in the version that I was working at, chapter 3, section 1.1, you've already got an appendix statement that says, as the village prepares for the future, the historic resources, or historic resources will be analyzed and prioritized to determine which structures will be preserved. So it feels like you've already addressed, maybe take that and put it in formal statement instead of an appendix, but it feels like you've already addressed the anticipation that some of that won't be preserved and stayed, to Robin's point.
Yeah.
So you just take this
Take it out.
objective out altogether
Take it
and
out.
Yeah.
substitute the appendix language in here?
Yeah,
That sounds.
good idea. Thanks, Dusty.
Thank you.
What section was that? Was it 3.3?
I've got chapter 3, section.
Yeah, we already read it somewhere.
1.1,
Historical.
chapter 3.
Yeah.
Chapter
It's
3.
the one I got distracted on the first time.
Yeah,
Historical architects.
All right.
Okay, once I find this, I'll mark it down. Last thing, so the next meeting, we'll talk about land use. The only change that I have to work on is the appropriateness of historic preservation. Can you identify any other land use items that have changed since the last comprehensive plan?
You already had the, what's the transit-oriented district was already in the.
Yes.
Was
Right.
already in.
That's it.
That was there.
No changes to the CVE stuff.
No.
No.
The only change we made, but it was in the last roundabout, was we added freight rail manufacturing, distribution, and warehousing facilities on the Global Foundry site in the light industrial district. Take advantage of the railway line that
Yeah.
seems to take advantage of.
Well, there's a whole statewide map of industrial sites that actually abut railroads. And it used to be a big thing when railroads were more integral to the delivery of raw materials and so
As I
forth.
keep telling people, if all the trucks from Canada stopped here around in Burlington, they'd be 20% fuller. We wouldn't be paying as much to have somebody check to make sure they don't get overfilled. And people would be getting the products coming out of them for less.
Well, we actually have some of the industrial sites like Flexus Seal is actually on a rail spur.
Yeah, I tried to get the
Yep.
pieces I didn't
You
need.
can't get them to.
They didn't wanna use it.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
so
right.
I don't think there's been any
Okay.
changes, other than the one Robin referenced.
Agricultural lands, that's in perpetuity, right? The Wickham Farm is never ever gonna
Yes.
be developed.
Right,
Right.
No.
correct.
That's nothing's ever gonna change there.
No.
Did we include any of the parking study? Any mention of the parking study? Are we going to?
Well, the parking study just looked at what we had, and the basic result was that if the people coming to the village center didn't want to park right outside the front door of the place they were going to, there's not parking.
I guess the question is, should we include something?
Well, I mean, it could be old news in 3 years' time, the development going up, but basically they said that even at the busiest times, you're only about 60%, 70% full.
I feel like we should, because it's something that, we've done recent and it actually
Okay.
supports the
We
analysis
could
of
put in
all
the-
of the
yeah.
waivers that we've
Yeah.
given because
Yeah.
of parking and.
We could put in the parking map that shows the parking.
I absolutely feel like we have to put that in
Yeah.
because,
Okay.
and put it in the comp plan, put it on, the website, put
It's
it,
even in McGillicuddy's.
yeah,
So-
put it everywhere.
Put it
I
Should
I
be
think that
signs
is
in
one
the
of
parking
my.
lot, though. Big
Yeah.
blue signs with a P, like one
Right.
over here, there's nothing in there, you can drive around, if you're not from around here, you never even know where
Right.
to go.
Well, we got two signs on the.
Yeah, there's
hydro
parking right over
rescue,
here.
the most, I've only ever seen 6 cars in there.
Well, people over here don't know what's over there.
It's too far, I've been told.
You get an arrow that
Yeah.
way.
It's too far.
I've been told
Okay,
by
so
people
we-
that the parking's too far from McGillicuddy.
We can look at it, at the very least, the map. I think
We've
that's
also
a
got,
good idea.
Park Street School in the front of the old
Mhm.
Verizon building.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about the parking too is a lot's gonna change in the next couple of years in terms
Yes.
of
Mhm.
parking in the area, so, you don't want it to be too out of date, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Behind.
Definitely a good
The
suggestion.
Essex Grill, which was just blacktopped again for the first time in probably 20 years.
Mhm.
That's
Yep,
Tons of parking.
yep,
You're laughing at.
all right,
Okay, I
yes,
think that gets us through the comments until next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
excellent, thank you so much, Melanie. Okay,
You want it?
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
so,
You don't need chocolate.
I'll eat them.
You don't, I'm gonna have to. It happens all the time, I bring chocolates from the other people.
Fine,
Thank you.
thank you.
let's move on to the next agenda item, my apologies. I think maybe we should have had made sure that you guys were first, but thank you for being patient.
Next.
John, did you see this?
Are we gonna watch a couple movies?
Came with the back.
Did it really?
All right, so,
I think I did see that.
next on the agenda, public hearing, discussion for final site plan review for 4 residential apartments with an existing single-family dwelling and one residential apartment within an existing garage with 10 proposed parking spaces at 7 Park Terrace. Guys, are up?
Okay, do you want me to start off?
Welcome back.
So, Andrew's changed quite a bit since the last meeting. He made all the changes on the site plan that we requested. Moved the trash cans, taking out a couple parking spaces on School Street to increase the vegetation along the street, screening the parking at the same time. He also produced a map showing the light spread of the lights.
I only saw
So the cut sheet, but it should be
I
there
saw the
too.
cut sheet, but there's a bigger one.
Yeah,
right here.
there is, John,
John?
right here, right there.
Oh,
It was
okay.
superimposed on the site plan. There is, it looks like there's one light spillover at the multifamily to the east of the building, but I looked at the light fixture and you could just black out the piece of glass that faces that way, and that would solve the problem.
Yep. Also a big hedge there, isn't it?
Yes.
There's a 3-foot soffit on the building
Right.
that comes down like this, so the light will actually be,
Yeah,
it's also only
Oh,
0.01
yeah.
lumen that goes onto the neighbor's property, so.
yeah, I mean, the spread,
Yeah, if you have to black out that.
that one panel, yeah, that
That's
would
kind
solve
of
the
what,
problem.
yeah, that's kind of
Awesome.
That's good.
The PC have any questions?
Did we have to reopen or something, or?
That was tabled.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the formal
Oh, well, we
process
have what-
here?
I
Do we
guess
have to
somebody
make a
has to
motion?
propose, to make a motion.
I make a motion that we reopen the, public hearing on, is it a public hearing?
Yep.
Yep.
Public hearing, to review this application.
7 Park
Do I have
Street.
a do I have a second?
Park Terrace.
Okay. Now we can talk about it.
All right, I only have 2 questions. Amazing.
But they're really,
You fell off that chair.
No,
They're holding me to it.
First of all, all of this material is awesome. If we had it the first time, it would have been probably done, but I appreciate that you did everything. It's
Yes.
great. So my
Yep.
two questions. I still have in my package, the vinyl window replacement, including the jamb and head, trim for, vinyl siding. And in the narrative, it sounds like we're keeping the trim.
We are,
siding.
it's just, that was part of the pocket, Terry keeps it
So
in.
I throw this away.
You can throw it away.
That was number 1. Number 2 was a question, that I don't know, we asked a question last time about whether this parking lot had to be paved by the LDC code, or whether,
We changed that, to say we could have gravel. I mean, compacted gravel's always got almost the same amount of runoff as blacktop, but not quite, it's a little bit less. We did change the code, I believe, to help out the Willies, to say there could be gravel.
so even though this is kind of a commercial apartment building, we're okay with it, gravel?
Yeah.
Alright, those are my only questions. I love the project, it's just what we're trying to do in
Absolutely.
this district. It's a major improvement to take this building and turn it around into what you're proposing.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I also had questions about the parking, the paving, and I reread a whole bunch of the sections. It just seems like it gives us the flexibility to not have it paved.
Right. Yeah.
And all those other things about striping and all that other stuff goes away if you don't have to have it paved, right?
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in this here, we're actually reducing the number of parking spaces?
Yeah, they were just because of PC requests.
Correct, so we're good there. We're patching, just to make it clear for everybody, that the original, it's gone from replacing with vinyl siding, correct, to patching the original siding?
Yeah, and trim around the windows
And the
and
trim,
everything.
okay, and painting the house the original color,
Original color.
right?
Yeah, white.
So.
It's pretty straightforward.
It could be painted again in 3
You
years.
almost can't go wrong with the painting, if you look around at the other properties and similar buildings like this, you have a general field color, which if you want it to be white, that's fine. And then it's customary to paint some of the wood detailing an accent color.
Did you see the
Yeah,
Yep.
the rendering, it shows the building's green a little bit, sometimes that's a printing issue. But yeah, it looks great, looks great.
Yep, looks
There's
good.
Looks
nothing
pretty
wrong
green
with
to
the
me.
green if you end up with green, the.
Green's a wonderful
Yeah.
color.
Yes.
But it's not gonna be green, it's gonna be white, right?
Okay.
I don't
I never
care, I'm
had
just
one of these
being,
reviews.
What's that?
I like it.
It's a massive
Yeah, they
improvement.
had it,
Yes.
in with the landscape.
Yeah, there's some,
The landscaping looks great, I can't
Landscape is
believe,
very good.
can't believe you went to Wagner,
Yeah. Not that good.
Hodgson, but, awesome. I think that they tend to do a lot larger projects as well, but, yes.
yeah, nice plans.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes, works very well.
Yep. It's gonna be cleaned up a lot, it's gonna look good.
Massive upgrade.
It wasn't
Yeah.
like, I don't know what it was the building used for before.
It's a single family house and then it was an apartment.
So,
So any other questions for the applicant?
I would, nope, no. I was just gonna make a motion to approve the, application, well, do we have to close?
Well, let's,
We have to close the public forum.
yeah, let's,
Anybody else wanna say anything?
does anybody have a question for the applicants? Robin, do you have anything you wanna add?
No, I think you made all the changes that the PC asked for and more. I think it's, the building had seen better days and it's really gonna go
Well,
back to where it used to be.
it's a huge win for the sort of preservation and village character.
That's what we're talking
issue.
about.
To maintain the siding and the window trim
Mhm.
it's huge, so, I'm extremely happy.
All right, do I hear a motion to close the public portion of the meeting? Second, all in favor? All right, so yes, to what John said, I think it's, simplify the project. It's a no-brainer, it's a good deal for the village. I think it's gonna be a great project. So, anybody have anything else they wanna talk about? Do I hear a motion to approve or deny this project, or this application?
I'll make a motion to approve the application, with the proposed stipulations in the report dated March 21st.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
All opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for being patient. I hope you learned a lot tonight. About the comprehensive plan.
Come back in 2 weeks.
Please come back in
on
2
the plan
weeks.
commission.
Oh, yeah, we have a vacancy too, so,
Linda.
I live in Essex Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we know that. For that being the meeting.
Oh, now it's
All right, guys, so, let's, just a couple things. Does anybody have anything else they want to mention before we adjourn?
No.
All right, so do we want to warn a meeting in
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, yeah.
we want to try to stick to Thursdays, right? We gotta
Well,
stick.
she had us put it down for
April 10th?
April 4th.
April 4th.
Yeah.
What is today? Yeah,
Yeah, so April 4th.
so warn it for April 4th, and then after that, our expectations are to try to start meeting once every 2 weeks.
Yes.
So if we can warn, I don't know how, if we can just
Keep warning.
keep warning,
We will.
and
I
just
mean,
make
it's
it
in every
happen.
front porch forum, it's up in,
Yeah.
Firebird, it's in the Nest, it's in Darkroom
Okay.
Gallery, it's on
Okay.
Front Porch Forum, it's on Facebook, it's,
Yeah, and based on her,
Has to be.
based on Melanie's timeline, we've got the April 4th meeting and then the April 18th, which is the next, the
Mhm.
Tuesday, Thursday
Yep.
after,
Mhm.
is when we're supposed to be done
Yep.
to present it. So,
That's fine.
Yeah, we should
You can do
remember, as I said, it's, municipal plan light, we're only making the changes that are mandated
Correct.
to get it through to the next system, so when the town's ready to update their plan, then we'll both be ready.
Correct. So I would suggest that at the next meeting, when if we have time, we go over any suggestions that, of topics that we want to talk about before we have to have it done,
Right,
that are not included in the mandatory stuff that we're doing.
right,
Does that make sense?
absolutely.
So,
mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay, and then hopefully we can get that conversation started and taken care of. So unless there's applications going forward into the future,
I will tell you,
It will be
there's-
a work session
There
meeting.
won't be, there may be one application at the end of April, most likely there'll be 2 applications in May. One's coming through slowly and it's attached to the connector road, so they both have to happen at the same time. The other one was just purchased 2 weeks ago and it's in the very early stages, so.
okay. Great, anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
So-
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great night.
John, it's not even 7:30.
Got stuff to do.
It's on him, it's on him.